They called us meek, delicate, easy to control. They were wrong. This is the story of the women who fought and ruled. Welcome to the Middle Ages, where some of the toughest warriors wore dresses.
Bookworms and history buffs, we spend a lot of time talking about kings and conquerors, emperors and explorers. But what about the women? You know, the ones who fought just as hard, ruled just as fiercely, and changed the world just as much as any dude in a powdered wig. It's about recognizing that while men were busy starting wars and signing treaties, women were out there history. They were defending their homes, leading rebellions, and breaking every rule in the book. So buckle up, because we're about to meet some of history's brave women. Picture this. It's 14th century Italy. City-states are brawling, alliances are shifting faster than sand dunes, and everyone's got a dagger tucked into their velvet doublet. Our first leading lady is Marcia Ordelaffi, married to the Lord of Forli, a guy whose idea of a good time was starting a family feud with his own son. So when dear hubby gets tossed in prison during a siege, Marcia doesn't panic. She grabs the reins of power, tells the guards to double the rations because a well-fed army is a happy army, and settles in for a good, long siege. When a traitor tries to weaken Cesena's defenses, she does what any reasonable medieval ruler would do. She lops off his head. And when the enemy thinks they've finally worn her down, Marcia pulls off a daring escape, slipping through their lines with her children and a handful of loyal soldiers. Fast forward a few decades and we're in Brittany, smack dab in the middle of the 100 Years' War. This time it's Jeanne de Flandre, aka Madame de Montfort, who's about to show everyone how it's done. While her husband's off getting captured, again typical medieval husband move, Jeanne's got bigger problems than just laundry day. The enemy is at the gates of Hennebon, and they're thirsty for blood, or at least some prime Breton real estate. But Jeanne's not about to let some dudes in fancy armor take her city. She rallies the townspeople, arms them to the teeth, and even convinces the women to shorten their skirts for maximum battle readiness. Think pots of boiling tar raining down on the enemy, because nothing says not today like a face full of molten asphalt. From one Jeanne to another, we meet Jeanne de Clisson. Now Jeanne was living the good life in Brittany, until the King of France decided to execute her husband, for no reason. Most noble women would have thrown a very public mourning period, maybe written a strongly worded letter. Not Jeanne. She sold all her worldly possessions, bought 3 warships, painted them black, and hoisted blood-red sails. Jeanne and her crew terrorized the English Channel, hunting down French ships with a vengeance. She always left a few sailors alive to scurry back to their king and tell him exactly who was making the seas run red with French blood. Now let's talk about a woman who needs no introduction, but definitely deserves a standing ovation, Joan of Arc. In a time when girls were expected to get married and churn out heirs, Joan heard voices. Not just any voices, mind you, voices from saints, urging her to save France from the English. So, at the ripe old age of 17, Joan did what any self-respecting teenager with divine instructions would do. She chopped off her hair, put on some armor, and marched off to meet the King of France. And the king, bless his heart, actually listened. Maybe he was desperate, maybe he saw something special in Joan's fiery spirit, or maybe he just really needed someone to take charge. Whatever the reason, he gave her an army. Joan led that army to victory after victory, breaking sieges, routing the English, and becoming a national hero. Joan was captured, put on trial by kangaroo court, and burned at the stake at the age of 19. But here's the thing. Even in death, Joan had the last laugh. The English lost the war, and Joan became a martyr, a symbol of French resilience, and a permanent thorn in the side of the English monarchy. Last but not least, we have Isabella of France, who married a king, tamed a country, and basically invented the power play. Married off at the tender age of 12, Isabella found herself hitched to Edward II of England. He played favourites, alienated his nobles, and generally made a mess of things. Isabella raised an army, deposed her husband, and shipped her son off to become the next king of England. So there you have it. 5 incredible women who took on the world and won. They were warriors, queens, pirates, and revolutionaries. They didn't wait for permission or a prince to rescue them. They grabbed their swords, or their boiling tar, and made their own destiny. These weren't just queens or wives. They were warriors, leaders, and survivors in a brutal world. So next time someone tells you history is full of powerful men, remind them of the women who stole the show. And hey, If you want to learn more about the unsung heroes and sheroes of the past, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories they didn't teach you in school.